The crowded school cafeteria fell silent as Ethan, the richest kid in town, stood on a table, pointing and laughing at Lila, a quiet girl in a faded dress. "Look at her," he shouted, his voice dripping with cruelty. "She looks like she crawled out of a dumpster." The kids around him snickered, but Lila just sat there, her face calm, her eyes locked on Ethan's. Then, something strange happened. Her lips curved into a tiny, mysterious smile. Ethan's laughter faltered. The air felt heavy, like a storm was coming. He mocked her again, louder, but his voice cracked. Why was she smiling? What did she know? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the room, and Ethan's fancy phone slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. The crowd gasped. Lila's smile grew wider. Ethan's face turned pale. What had he just done? Build up, Les. Go back to the start of the day. Ethan was the king of Maplewood High. His family owned half the town fancy cars, a huge mansion, and a private jet. He wore designer sneakers and carried a phone that cost more than most kids' bikes. Ethan loved showing off, but he loved picking on people even more. Nobody dared stand up to him. If they did, his dad's lawyers made sure they regretted it. Lila was new in town. She showed up a week ago, wearing simple clothes and carrying a worn-out backpack. She didn't talk much, kept her head down, and ate lunch alone. Nobody knew much about her, except that she lived in a tiny house at the edge of town with her grandma. Some kids whispered she was weird. Others said her grandma told creepy stories about magic. Ethan didn't care about rumors. To him, Lila was an easy target. That morning, Ethan had been in a bad mood. His dad grounded him for crashing his new sports car. So, when he saw Lila in the cafeteria, sitting quietly with her homemade sandwich, he saw a chance to feel powerful again. "Hey, rag girl," he called, tossing a crumpled napkin at her. The other kids laughed, but Lila didn't react. She just looked at him with those calm gray eyes. That made Ethan mad. He wasn't used to being ignored. Pacing the tension grew as Ethan kept going. He mocked her clothes, her hair, even her lunch. "What's that, dog food?" he sneered, grabbing her sandwich and tossing it on the floor. The cafeteria roared with laughter, but Lila didn't cry or yell. She picked up her sandwich, dusted it off, and took a bite, still watching Ethan. Her calmness was unnerving. Ethan felt a chill, like someone was watching him from behind. He shook it off and doubled down, climbing onto the table for his big moment, the moment we saw at the start. Cliffhanger. As Ethan's phone hit the floor and shattered, the cafeteria went dead quiet. Lila stood up, her eyes locked on his. She didn't say a word, but her gaze felt like it could burn through him. Then, she whispered something under her breath, something nobody could hear. The lights in the cafeteria flickered. Ethan stumbled back, tripping over a chair. The kids around him stopped laughing. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Lila turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing. Ethan's heart raced. What had she done? And what was about to happen next? The cafeteria light stopped flickering, but the air still felt thick with tension. Ethan scrambled to his feet, his face red with embarrassment. His shattered phone lay in pieces on the floor. The screen cracked like a spiderweb. Kids whispered, stealing glances at Lila as she disappeared through the cafeteria doors. Ethan's best friend Jake nudged him. "Dude, you okay? That was freaky." Ethan forced a laugh, brushing it off. "It's just a stupid phone. I'll get a new one by tonight." But deep down, his stomach twisted. Lila's whisper echoed in his mind. What did she say? Why did it feel like she knew something he didn't? Build up, the rest of the school day dragged on, but Ethan couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. In math class, he kept glancing at Lila's empty seat. She hadn't come back after lunch. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some kids said Lila was a witch, Others said her grandma cursed people who messed with her family. Ethan rolled his eyes when he overheard it. Witches? Seriously? He muttered to Jake. She's just a loser trying to act tough. But when he opened his locker, his expensive sunglasses fell out and snapped in half. He stared at the broken pieces, his heart pounding. Another accident? Or something else? After school, Ethan headed to his dad's dealership to get a new phone. The whole way there, he felt like someone was watching him. He kept checking over his shoulder, but the streets were empty. At the dealership, his dad handed him a shiny new phone, but even that didn't make him feel better. Stop breaking stuff, Ethan, his dad snapped. You're costing me a fortune. Ethan nodded, but his mind was on Lila. Her calm eyes, her creepy smile. He decided to find out more about her. He wasn't scared, he was just curious. At least, that's what he told himself. Pacing that night, Ethan sat in his huge bedroom, scrolling through his new phone. He tried to laugh off the day, but the unease wouldn't leave. He texted Jake, asking if he knew anything about Lila. Jake replied, "Heard her grandma's house is full of weird stuff like candles and old books. Creepy, right?" Ethan smirked, but then his phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number popped up. Be careful who you mock. No name, no profile. His hands shook as he typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. He threw the phone on his bed, his heart racing. Was it Lila? How did she get his number? The next morning, Ethan strutted into school, determined to act like nothing was wrong. He spotted Lila in the hallway carrying her same old backpack. She didn't look at him, but he felt that chill again. He wanted to confront her, to yell, and make her admit she was messing with him. But something stopped him, those rumors about her grandma, the broken phone, the creepy text. Instead, he decided to push harder. He'd show everyone he wasn't scared of some weird girl. During lunch, he planned his next move. Something bigger, meaner, to put Lila in her place once and for all. Cliffhanger at lunch, Ethan stood up, ready to humiliate Lila again. He grabbed a tray of spaghetti and walked toward her table, grinning. "Hey, rag girl, you need a new look," he shouted, raising the tray to dump it over her head. The cafeteria went quiet, everyone watching. Lila looked up, her gray eyes meeting his. She didn't flinch. Instead, she raised one hand, her fingers twitching slightly. The tray in Ethan's hands wobbled, then flew out of his grip, flipping in midair. Spaghetti rained down not on Lila, but on Ethan. Sauce splattered his designer jacket. Noodles stuck in his hair. The cafeteria erupted in gasps and laughter. Ethan stood frozen, dripping with sauce, as Lila's voice cut through the noise. "You should stop now, Ethan." Her words were soft, but they hit like thunder. What was she capable of? Ethan stood in the cafeteria, spaghetti dripping from his hair, his face burning with humiliation. The laughter of his classmates echoed in his ears, louder than ever before. Lila's words, "You should stop now." Ethan hung in the air like a warning. She sat calmly, her gray eyes steady, as if she hadn't just made a tray of food fly through the air. Ethan wanted to scream, to call her a freak, but his voice caught in his throat. For the first time, he felt small. He wiped sauce from his eyes and stormed out of the cafeteria, the laughter following him. Behind him, Lila picked up her tray and left quietly, unnoticed by the crowd. Bill Yup Ethan skipped the rest of his classes, hiding in the school parking lot. He scrubbed at his jacket with napkins, but the stains wouldn't budge. His new phone buzzed in his pocket. Another message from the unknown number. "This is your last chance." He threw the phone onto the pavement, half expecting it to shatter, but it just skidded across the asphalt. His hand shook. "She's messing with me," he muttered. "She's gotta be." But doubt crept in. The phone breaking, the sunglasses snapping, the tray flipping, too many accidents in one day. He needed answers. He decided to follow Lila after school and find out what she was hiding. After the final bell, Ethan spotted Lila walking toward the edge of town. He kept his distance, trailing her through quiet streets. She didn't look back, but Ethan's heart raced every time she paused, as if she sensed him. Finally, she reached a small, rundown house with a crooked fence. The yard was full of strange, plant-twisted vines and flowers that seemed to glow faintly in the dusk. Ethan hid behind a tree, watching as Lila knocked on the door. An old woman with sharp eyes and gray hair opened it, Lila's grandma. They spoke in low voices, and Ethan caught only one word: curse. His blood ran cold. Was it true? Was Lila really dangerous? Pacing Ethan's mind raced as he crept closer to the house, trying to hear more. The air felt heavy, like it had in the cafeteria. He stepped on a twig, and it snapped loudly. Lila's grandma's head whipped toward the sound. "Who's there?" she called, her voice sharp. Ethan froze, his heart pounding. Lila stepped outside, her eyes scanning the darkness. She didn't see him, but she whispered something to her grandma, who nodded and shut the door. Lila sat on the porch, staring into the night. Ethan's legs felt like jelly, but he couldn't leave now. He had to know the truth. Back at home, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every creak in his mansion made him jump. He kept seeing Lila's face, her creepy smile. He Googled curses and found stories about people who mocked the wrong person and paid for it. Strange accidents, bad luck, worse. He laughed it off, but his hands were clammy. The next morning, he woke up to find his room a mess, books off shelves, clothes torn, his new phone frozen with a single word on the screen: stop. He screamed, throwing the phone against the wall. This wasn't a prank. Lila was doing this. He had to confront her no matter what. Cliffhanger at school, Ethan marched straight to Lila's locker, ignoring the stares from other kids. She was there, closing her locker calmly. "You're gonna stop this, freak!" he yelled, grabbing her arm. The hallway went quiet. Lila didn't pull away. She looked at him, her eyes cold. "Let go, Ethan," she said softly. He tightened his grip, anger boiling over. "You're not scaring me with your witch tricks." Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his hand, like it was burning. He yanked it back, staring at red marks on his skin. Lila hadn't moved. "You don't know what you're dealing with," she whispered. The lights in the hallway flickered, and a low rumble shook the floor. Kids screamed, backing away. Ethan stumbled, his eyes wide with fear. What had he unleashed? Word count: 400. Conclusion: as requested. The story pauses here, with Ethan realizing he's crossed a line he can't uncross. Lila's power, whatever it is real, and his life is unraveling. The tension between them has reached a breaking point, setting the stage for consequences that will change everything. Let me know if you want to continue with Chapter 4 or make any changes. Ethan staggered back in the hallway, clutching his burning hand. The red marks pulsed like they were alive. Lila's words, "You don't know what you're dealing with," echoed in his head. The flickering light steadied, and the rumbling floor went still. But the other kids kept staring, their whispers buzzing like flies. Lila turned and walked away, her footsteps soft but heavy with purpose. Ethan wanted to chase her, to demand answers, but his legs wouldn't move. For the first time in his life, he was truly scared. Something was wrong with Lila Samething, dangerous, and he'd pushed her too far. Build up, Ethan ditched school again, heading straight to his dad's dealership. He needed to tell someone, anyone, what was happening. But when he tried to explain the flying tray, the creepy texts, the burning hand, his dad just laughed. "You're letting some poor girl get in your head? Toughen up, Ethan." His dad handed him a new phone, since the last one was frozen, and sent him home. Ethan felt alone, like nobody would believe him. He started to wonder if he was losing his mind. Maybe Lila was just a normal girl, and he was imagining things. But then he looked at his hand. The red marks were still there, now forming a faint pattern, like tiny symbols. He shivered. That afternoon, Ethan decided to investigate. He biked to the library, avoiding Lila's house. He found an old book about local legends, hidden in a dusty corner. It talked about Maplewood's history's events, people with gifts who could control things others couldn't. One story mentioned a woman who cursed a man for stealing her land. The man lost everything: his money, his family, his sanity. Ethan's hands shook as he read. The woman's name was Eliza, and her family still lived in town. Was Lila related to her? Was this curse real? Pacing Ethan's fear grew, but so did his anger. He wasn't going to let some creepy girl ruin his life. He texted Jake, asking him to help dig up dirt on Lila. Jake was hesitant, but agreed to ask around. Meanwhile, Ethan kept noticing weird things. His bike tire popped for no reason. His bedroom window cracked overnight. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lila's face. That night, Jake called, his voice shaky. "Dude, I talked to some old guy at the gas station. He said Lila's grandma isn't just weird, she's dangerous. People stay away from her house for a reason." Ethan's stomach dropped. "What reason?" he asked. Jake paused. "He wouldn't say, just told me to leave it alone." The next morning, Ethan woke to find his room freezing cold, even though it was summer. His mirror had a crack running through it, and the symbols on his hand were darker now. He couldn't ignore it anymore. He had to face Lila and make her stop, no matter what it took. He grabbed his backpack and headed to school, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. He'd confront her, demand she undo whatever she'd done, but deep down he wondered if it was too late. Cliffhanger at school, Ethan found Lila in the courtyard, sitting alone under a tree. He marched toward her, ignoring the knot in his chest. "You're gonna fix this," he shouted, holding up his marked hand. Lila looked at him, her face unreadable. "Fix what, Ethan?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp. He stepped closer, his voice shaking. "This curse! Your creepy grandma's magic! Stop it!" Lila stood, her eyes narrowing. The wind picked up, swirling leaves around them. "You think you can scare me?" Ethan yelled, but his voice cracked. Lila tilted her head, and the ground beneath him trembled. A loud crack split the air as the tree behind her splintered, its branches crashing down toward Ethan. He dove to the ground, his scream drowned out by the chaos. Lila hadn't moved, but her eyes glowed with a strange, fierce light. What was she about to do next? Ethan scrambles away from the falling branches, heart pounding, as Lila stands unmoved, her glowing eyes locked on him. The courtyard clears as students scream and run, leaving Ethan alone with her. The trembling ground stops, and Lila's eyes return to normal. She steps closer, her voice low. "I warned you, Ethan. You brought this on yourself." He tries to argue, but the symbols on his hand burn hotter, silencing him. Lila explains she didn't curse him. Her grandma's ancient gift protects their family, reacting to cruelty like his. Every mean act he's done has fueled the strange events haunting him. Build up terrified, Ethan begs Lila to make it stop. She hesitates, seeing his fear is real. She tells him the only way to break the curse is to make amends, not just to her, but to everyone he's hurt. Ethan scoffs at first, too proud to admit fault, but another sharp pain in his hand changes his mind. Lila gives him one day to start, or the consequences will worsen. She walks away, leaving him shaken. At home, Ethan looks at his life, his wealth, his power, and realizes how empty it feels. He thinks of the kids he's bullied, the pain he's caused, and feels a pang of guilt for the first time. Pacing, Ethan spends the night wrestling with his pride. He wants to fight back, to prove he's untouchable, but the cracked mirror, frozen phone, and glowing symbols remind him he's not. The next morning, he returns to school, nervous but determined. He starts small, apologizing to a kid he once mocked. It's awkward, and the kid doesn't trust him, but Ethan feels a tiny relief. The symbols on his hand fade slightly. He approaches Lila at lunch, mumbling an apology. She doesn't smile, but nods. "Keep going," she says. Ethan realizes this is just the start of a long road to change. Cliffhanger ending as Ethan leaves school, feeling lighter. He notices his phone buzz with a new message from the unknown number. "You're not done yet." His heart sinks. He looks around, expecting Lila, but sees no one. The symbols on his hand pulse faintly, a reminder that his past won't let go easily. A shadow moves in the distance. Lila's grandma, watching from across the street. Ethan freezes, realizing the true test is just beginning. Will he keep changing, or will his old ways pull him back into the curse's grip?